Hi everybody, my name is Bernard Allaire. I work with the Trinity Centre for Environmental Humanities in Dublin with the RC Norfish project directed by Paul Hall. Today, I'm going to talk about the French cod fisheries in Newfoundland in early modern France. I've chosen this topic because these fisheries represent a huge activity in France at that time, but also because the subject have been neglected by Anglo-American scholars who focus more on 18th and 19th century. A part of the Norfish project, I've decided to evaluate the scale of these fisheries from the 16th to the 18th century. It is something that had never been seriously tried out up to now. Most sectarians have focused on wine and grain as the basis of exchange, leaving the fish trade apart, even though it comprised an important commodity on the market. A big business. Merchant could make fortunes selling codfish because its low price made it accessible to every purse. It was available in great quantity and its consumption was encouraged by religious authorities. An example of the difference between the cost of green cod in coastal city and in Paris shows this huge possible profit margin. There were also significant profit to be made with loans on fishing vessel and huge extra return through foreign export of codfish. Most great urban centers of France were involved in these fisheries logically, financially, or commercially. The fish reach inland cities through France's numerous rivers. Every year, as early as February, vessels from many big and small port cities sail to Newfoundland after lading their victuals and cargo of salt. In Newfoundland, the fishing zones were separated and controlled by competing nations. And this situation changed from the mid-16th century with the slow vanishing of the Iberian shipping and the arrival of the English fishermen at the end of the 16th century. At the beginning of the 17th century, the fishing grounds were mainly occupied by the French and the English fishing vessel. This ship carried out essentially two types of fisheries. The green salt cod was caught and processed at sea aboard vessels and brought back to Europe as quickly as possible. Dry cod was caught along the coast, processed, dried, and piled up along the shore. Either green or dry, all these fish were brought back to France or exported to Portugal, Spain, Italy, and other ports of the Mediterranean to be sold or exchanged for other goods or currency for greater fortune of countries' merchants. By the 16th century, France became the main cod provider in Europe, surpassing the Portuguese and the Spanish in the Newfoundland fisheries. The French achieved this great success because of their expertise in fisheries, their access to tax-free salt, their distribution networks, but also their mastery of financial mechanism. This achievement is also based on the historical control of the French merchant on the Iberian and Mediterranean market where the codfish was sold. Finally, the cod fisheries were supported by authorities because Newfoundland was the best school for mariners used in the Navy in time of war. Though these fisheries in the New World represent an important economic activity, few historians or economists have studied this topic. This history had to be reconstructed from the bottom up. Now, for people concerned by environmental history, the question is how to evaluate the pressure on cod resources in the early modern period. In absence of clear data from the record, this reality had to be assembled from the number of vessels present in Newfoundland each year. We already possess some rough knowledge of the French shipping in Newfoundland from French or foreign sources. Several sources from the 16th to 18th century provide some level of this navigation. This is the case for Parcus in 1578, Montchrétien in 1610, Whitbourne in 1615, Vaughan in 1625, or Amen in 1630. And these evaluations are backed by some French census of vessel from 1627 to 1786. There are some big difference, but if we take away the highest and the lowest value, we can conclude that this navigation occupied between 200 and 400 vessels every year. But these evaluations of the Newfoundland shipping are too vague to draw up a clear conclusion, and especially about the quantity of fish catches brought back to Europe. And to be more precise, we needed to learn the tonnage of these vessels. To achieve this, we went back to the sources in the manuscript document. And the first sources chosen for the study was the notarial record. These records, which sometimes date back to the 13th century, are still preserved in most archives of France. This source is essential to historians because merchants validate their contract, sales, and agreement at the public notary. These records provide crucial data concerning the Newfoundland fisheries, such as charter party, loan, sale of fish, with information on ship's name, capacity, owner, destination, captain, and crew. The first step consists in researching and analyzing the useful document in the notarial manuscript. But the second step involved the insertion of the relevant data in a spreadsheet of the main port of France from the beginning of the 16th century. For the purpose of this study, only the notarial record of Bayonne, Bordeaux, La Rochelle, Le Havre de Grace, and Rouen were used. The second source used to study the Newfoundland shipping were the Admiralty record, but these records only began to be kept in the 1630s, and we must wait until the 1660s to have a complete series. The Admiralty record offers us a better image of the Newfoundland's fisheries. It gives a precise number of vessels with more accurate tonnage, their cargo, the owner, officers, and crew list, home port, destination, with departure and arrival dates. Here again, the data were inserted in spreadsheets. The combined use of these two types of records helps us to give a better view of the French cod fishery, especially since the accuracy of the notarial record greatly declined in the 17th century. After this work in the record, it was possible to go further and improve our database with information found in scholarly publication dating from the 19th century. We consulted numerous pre-modern and modern works, but their scope was often too local and limited in time, but nevertheless useful to draw up a global panorama of this navigation. So it is with a cocktail of manuscript and printed sources that we constructed our shipping panorama. All the accessible data was gathered in several spreadsheets divided by port city and regional zone. In the end, all the regional database were merged into a single global worksheet to get finally an initial rough evaluation of the French Newfoundland shipping year by year. This first attempt to evaluate the level of the cod fisheries resulted in a graph of this navigation according to the average tonnage of the vessels. This first rough evaluation needs, however, to be improved in many ways. To get an idea of the pressure on the Newfoundland fish stocks, the metric weights, or green and dry catches had to be converted into that of live fish. And above all, the gaps in the source created a distorted view of this navigation. In order to have a more realistic view of the cod fisheries in the early modern period, we had to adapt and improve the data through a new technique. I now leave this explanation to my colleague John Nicol, who will tell you more about it. Thank you very much.